We are moving into the late afternoon, everybody, and I know that it's been a content-packed day. There's been lots to learn, lots of information to take on board, and the more you use your brain, the tighter you get, and it's hot, and there are all these exciting things going on. I just want to make sure that you all are still with us and awake. So can I get a thumbs up for all the people that are ready to absorb some more information? Okay, that's good. There are people that are still alive and going in the audience. It's really exciting to hear. Before I hand over, I just want to make mention of the ASCA Brain of the Nation that's happening at 4:45. Please join us. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Great prize up for grabs, and you can get to compete with your colleagues, competitors, whatever you would like to do. But I promise you now, you won't be sorry. It's going to be a whole load of fun. So without further ado, let me do the introduction. So Juliette Fourie is the CEO of Metro Minds, South Africa, and her topic is utilizing supply chain simulators to increase performance and productivity in the workplace. So education, training, learning, all those good things are quite a passion of mine. So we share that passion. So I'm going to hand you over to Juliette, and she's going to take it away. Thank you, Juliette.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And absolutely, yes, we do. I just want to wait for the sharing. Oh. Is it sharing? Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. All right. Hopefully all of you can see the screen. And welcome to the very last session. Sure. I don't know what I deserve to get the graveyard session, but here we are. So let's make the best of that. So hopefully you're still awake and absolutely can absorb a few things. Just a little bit of background. Metro Minds, who I am the founder and CEO of, is passionate about building futures with fun and quality education. And since 2006, we have found innovative ways to execute this purpose. Leading up to the research that we've done for simulations, we have experienced that thousands of new job entrants fail because of the lack of application to their skills to perform in the workplace, and specifically the supply chain environment. So we did the research and the focus specifically on supply chain. I really don't have to emphasize the crucial role supply chain plays in the larger scope of trade. The skills gaps found in this industry are not just hard technical skills, but soft and necessary ones as well. Throughout this research journey, it was found that simulators have received more attention in the fields of aviation, mining, military, and medical fields, fields whereby any errors or lack of performance can cause loss of lives and, of course, huge risk. And the reality is that this is just as true for the supply chain environment. The aim of this session is to explain the benefits of utilizing workplace simulators in supply chain. The focus of this is to present empirical evidence using a qualitative approach with case studies to share data, statistics, and success stories of impact and benefits simulators had and will have for existing employees as well as new job entrants. The supply chain simulator is linked to critical skills required in the workplace as well as focused job functions and activities. Let us explore the importance of why simulators should form part of the skills application in the supply chain. I'm really going to focus on three things. We only have half an hour, so I'm going to make the best of that because I could definitely talk for 30. Reasons for utilizing simulators. We're going to look at action learning platforms and how does simulating learning exist, and then the impact on skills development and talent retention. So the next thing I would like you to do is I would like to hear a little bit about you as well. So What you will see on the slide is a QR code. If you have an iPhone, you can just open your camera and it will take you straight to the quiz or the poll. If you don't, then please go into your internet browser and type in slido.com and put in the code #2561. When you are in the poll, you could answer the following question. As a business leader, which skills would you say are lacking when employing graduates or first-time job entrants into the supply chain environment? If I could have your viewpoint, which skills do you experience as lacking? Okay, we have confidence, CI mindset, experience, fundamental process knowledge, courage, absolutely, practical application, EQ, forward-thinking abilities, application of skills in real-world environment, again, process, practical, emotional intelligence coming up again, real-world operational understanding, logic, email etiquette, application of theory learned, commitment. Yeah, now sometimes wonder if commitment does not have a relation to the way we see commitment in terms of generation gaps, experience, EQ. Sure, a lot of EQ, those soft skills again. Ethics. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in 10 seconds. Lack of value chain understanding. Outdated knowledge. Yes, because you start 3 years ago with a degree, and not to take anything away about any degrees, but yeah. The right attitude, passion, commitment. Excellent. Thank you very much for that contribution. All right. We're going to go on to Slido again a little bit later, so you can keep your phones open. Thank you for that. I think that is exactly that. And when we actually look at some of the statistics that's found in the research, we see some of those skills actually featuring there. So what are the actual reasons why we want to use simulators? Why did we get to this point that we researched this for so long and implemented at Metro Mines, which is a training provider? Many people work towards a goal, a common goal, be educated in a field of interest, start a career, be successful. And through the stages of education is also explained by Bloom's taxonomy. We go from learning how to read and write, so in other words, our actual understanding, our knowledge, to comprehension, applying things, analyzing and transforming new ideas into solutions. The theory of the subject learned is embedded in the student's mind through exams, assignments, attending a class, completing fields of study. But when it comes to the application in the workplace, the question should rightfully be asked, how easy is it to apply that theory, learned and be successful in a career? Throughout research done for this specific study, it was suggested that many organizations are actually put off by the amount of hand-holding that's required for youngsters before they start to add value in the workplace. And often the perception is that first-time job entrants are high risk and high maintenance. Even with the successful implementation of programs like learnerships, especially in South Africa, internships and graduate programs, it still remains daunting to start a job for the first time. No matter how intelligent, how educated, and ready you might seem to be. The question is, at what point exactly does this new employee or this new job entrant become an investment for an organization? In an article written by the Aberdeen Group, they actually indicated that only 10% of the researched organizations specified that their new inexperienced job entrants are actually ready to continue and contribute and perform in the workplace. Only 10%. Of them, 19% have formal programs to accommodate those new hires, especially those gaps. And then 63 reported that they still need extra coaching and training to get them up to speed. The study actually suggests that new entrants lack critical thinking, industry experience, industry knowledge, general business acumen, and personal leadership ability. This is a huge, huge gap when we are looking at the amount of new talent that we want to get into an industry like supply chain. So creating workplace simulations linked to occupational codes in the international supply chain environment can actually change this. Workplace simulation is not a new idea or a revolutionary one, but it can be if it's implemented correctly into this environment. Throughout the 1900s, flight simulators were created to simulate gliding, piloting, and flying. So there was a heightened awareness of the consequences of mistakes made that are more realistic in the simulation. And up to today still, they are still using flight simulators. If one uses that example of the aviation industry, the research suggests that the workplace simulators for supply chain is an innovative drive towards a more professional and specialized industry. It would appear that the stressful and unpredictable environment that the new job entrant operates in will be managed better with improved productivity, excellent performance, much more confidence, a continuous flow of new dynamic and skilled individuals. I think that multi-skilling of an individual is so key when they are entering in the workplace. So how does it work? So when we look at simulation, we have to ask ourselves first, what is simulation? And simulation is the application of theory in an authentic workplace context. So it's based on the theory of accelerated learning, as explained by Hoffman and Ward, and that refers to the psychology of learning and the science of education. Learning and education plays a fundamental role, a part of a successful workplace simulation program. So we can't not have education and psychology in this process. It is fundamental to the success of simulation. Simulation is also very interesting because it doesn't just sit in a very high tech or high level or hard technology like AI and VR. It could, but that's very expensive, of course. So simulation also sits in soft and medium and light technology. And it is the way we interconnect those skills and the way it is practiced and experienced before people enter the workplace. That is when it becomes successful. So it's referred to as experiential, action-based, case-based, experience-based, demonstration-based. So let's just take an example of working with different type of customers. How long has it taken us to be exposed to different customers in our career? Many, many years probably, where we had a submissive customer, where we had an aggressive customer, mostly aggressive customers, angry customers, quiet customers. We had to deal with so many people over such a long span of time that we could actually accelerate that process and be exposed to those type of things much earlier in our careers. Even with how many emails have you had to send to develop a strong habit of professionalism? And I'm using two very straightforward, soft examples, but yet very necessary examples, because those are the things that also like chase customers away. And also, how long did we have to wait to be exposed to the different activities in the supply chain to realize where our actual specialization lies or our passion lies? So accelerated learning has been defined in many ways, and it's based on this process of rapid training, accelerated proficiencies, facilitated retention, where things are actually retained. So it's not lecturing, it's facilitating learning in a flipped classroom type environment, cognitive task analysis, and that transposition of knowledge from the training environment to the workplace. So very interesting is that this translates to when you spend 5 days in this environment, it could be the equivalent of 25 days in the actual workplace. 25 days. That is more than a month. So just in terms of some examples, a training process in a business that was reviewed by DeBello and Missildine, they actually put a simulator in place in terms of their sales activities, their shipping, manufacturing, and general business processes. The training was conducted over 3 months. This was for their existing employees and tracked on financials, revenue, and profit. So every hour in what they called the OPSIM was equivalent to 2 weeks in the actual workplace. So they used simulation and gamification a lot, where they are creating games in process. The simulation was done as a serious game whereby they participated in teams with performance metrics to be achieved. So this method was set up in such a way that it did not disrupt their normal business activities at all. In the first year of being exposed to the simulator, high levels of performance were sustained. This is important because it's one thing to start something and it works, but it needs to be sustainable. And after 2 years, their challenges on back orders to clients have disappeared completely. They improved from an $800,000 back order to a $1,100 back order. And they developed expertise working through challenges, making tough decisions. So it was based on trial and error and in a safe, controlled environment. So accelerated learning through these case studies has achieved faster training with less or reduction, with no loss and reduction of competency levels. So to guide accelerated learning to high competency and proficiency levels, theories like, and I don't want to go into this in too much detail, it's very academic, but the 3 theories, when combined, it makes up such a beautiful thing, and it articulates so nicely into the concept of accelerated learning. So when we talk about the 3 theories, the CFT, which is cognitive flexibility theory, and this is really the ability to represent knowledge from different concepts and cases and perspective. So it explains that knowledge is content dependent. So we still need content. And the knowledge should then be interconnected and represented in multiple disciplines. And that's where the multi-skilling comes from. Where the cognitive load theory talks about the mental workload activities that's exposed to individuals in real life scenarios. So in other words, a task is given by the facilitator to create an environment where an individual can accelerate their learning whilst also minimizing things that disrupts their learning and ultimately be productive in the workplace. So it prepares individual for mental workload activities and give them that real world experience of stress levels, disruption, being able to prioritize, making decisions, critical thinking, and actually understand the bigger picture of the process of cause and effect and causal loops. Then we have the cognitive transformation theory, CTT, that emphasizes a very important one, the learning and unlearning of strategies proposing to make people think and learn like experts. Now, this is probably the most difficult one because we have all been conditioned in a way that only an exam is the only way to be tested. It's the only way to see that I can be successful or be competent. So people learn from their mistakes in this theory, and then they unlearn that through new habits in order to move to the next level. So compared and eventually merged might form a complete new theory in accelerated learning. So in the training environment, how we do simulation is we focus on that content, knowledge, reflect, So we go the load theory, and then we simulate in practice to learn and unlearn, because it's a safe environment and we can make mistakes, and then only assess. So in the field of supply chain, the 6 areas indicated is our focus at this moment. And basically, this is a 12-month qualification that we offer that you could do in an acceleration of 3 months. So every single graduate, so it doesn't have to be all these areas, it could be one of the areas. But the point is that we believe through the research, it's shown that every single graduate or school leaver or person entering the supply chain environment should attend a simulation before they even go into the workplace. So whether they are finishing their studies or whether they are going on to even a learnership for that matter, they should actually do the qualification as a simulated qualification. I mean, what's better than that? You do your qualification, you have the content, you are able to make those decisions, and you are ready to run in the workplace. And then only get, I almost want to say, the beautiful combination of the real workplace and the simulation. And the proof is in the pudding. So here's some stats and how did it impact. Interesting, 100% increase on productivity. So this is obviously based on sample sizes. The sample size that we used was one of 243 people, where the productivity literally increased with 100%, because they didn't learn and then had to go into the workplace and hopefully link that theory to the practice. They already practiced that in the simulation, in the simulated environment. Absolutely multi-skilled, 76% reduction in errors, a whole lot of self-motivated individuals because they are confident. They're more confident in asking questions. They know exactly what terminology to use. And of course, it definitely talks about the bigger picture of unemployment, especially in South Africa. So there's just a snapshot of certain industries, and in the aviation industry with flight simulators they're based on one airline, they had an $800,000 saving per annum just because of training products, technical issues, and not just the pilots, but also the rest of the staff. Then mining and safety equipment simulators, 81% improvement on safety. That's a huge deal. Medical nursing, 79% less errors. Oil and gas product simulators, so they focused on new products and the way they actually run the plant. 15.3 million saving on per plant per annum. And this is our own one, supply chain logistics simulator, 76% reduction in errors. And then, of course, not even to talk about the intangible and the soft stuff, but very important, the 75% employment success. So what I thought I'd do is, I did ask their permission, was to just give you 3 success stories. I mean, there are many more, but these young gents all attended the simulator at Metromines. And Tabang, sadly enough, when he left matric, he finished matric, he passed all his subjects, and when he got his matric certificate, there was an error on his English. And there was just no mark. He waited almost a year to get that fixed. In other words, he couldn't find a job without his matric certificate. We decided Tabang shows the potential. We joined him into the simulator. He flew through it. It was a 3-month simulator. It was a 12-month qualification. He was employed within 2 months. He finished another qualification. Today, he is working full-time. He's a permanent employee, loves the supply chain environment, and he is just flourishing in the industry. Then there's Rio. Rio came top of his class, and he also completed a 12-month qualification in 3 months using that accelerated learning approach. He started his career at the company that employed him to assist the managing director. He moved to operations very soon, and he really, really found his flair in international logistics. He's obsessed with serving customers, and he's a key ingredient in obviously being a professional supply chain practitioner. Then there's Leander, and he said simulation changed his life. It changed his career. He studied BCom supply chain, and he just started and jumped from the one, I almost want to say, niche market to the next. And he found his passion much quicker than he thought he would. And now he's specializing in a certain field. So, and then of course the 74% employment uptake that we had from there. So this was also based on the sample size, and we even asked, we get to do a lot with learners on learnerships, on supply chain learnerships, and every single one of them said, yes, the learnership was great. Don't take that away from me, but I would have rather done it in a simulated way, whereby I can feel much more comfortable in the workplace and I can add much more value when I am actually in the workplace. And big one, I can be trusted. So, sure, that half an hour went so quickly. I'm almost done. So the question that I want to pose to you is, whilst just listening to this very, very short and a few details and stats, I want you to answer this question, to say, would you feel more comfortable in recruiting a new job entrants who actually completed a supply chain simulator before starting a job at your organization? Would you feel they could add more value, they would understand the process, understand terminology, they are to be trusted? So I'll give you a few minutes.
Juliette, you still have 15 minutes left, so you don't have to rush.
Okay. I know we want some question and answer time as well, so...
So you're good to go for a little bit longer.
It's okay, I'm almost done. Right, so I don't have a brave no yet. I hope not. There's a few. I think while everyone is finishing off on the poll, I would like to maybe just talk about this and say, okay, yes, absolutely. From the outset, it looks great to be able to get someone and they're just ready to go. I think what's beautiful about this process and simulation is, because it's not a mass implementation of 1,000 students. It should never be. Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to coach and mentor that student or that person in the simulator when they make mistakes. So it's a very experience, and I almost want to say facilitation intensive process, and that's why it would be more expensive than just traditional, I want to say, classroom facilitation. Because you physically have to go and coach and mentor this person as well. So I am absolutely for, I've also got an honors degree and a master's degree. I'm absolutely for the academic world. But I just remember my first few weeks in the workplace and I was completely lost. And not because I don't know anything. It was just, I wish I had the opportunity to have that chance to simulate something and see, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? There's absolutely nothing in this world that can ever replace the real thing. We know that. I mean, the real thing is the real thing. But there are absolutely ways that we can make the transition easier. And that is the point. So a workplace simulator or a simulator in no ways can ever replace experience. Never. But it can help you to bridge that gap between what theoretic knowledge I have, that academic part of me, I understand, I have content, And how do I actually now go and I take it out of my brain and I use it? And I am socially aware, and I can be more professional in the workplace. I mean, we've had many learners. I mean, we've probably in the last 10, 12 years have qualified 8 to 9,000 people in the industry, and on learnerships, on vocational qualifications. And although those qualifications are great, they could be much better if we simulate them better. And the same within the workplace. And I'll go on to my next slide, which is my last one. I've written so many articles about actually just taking some components, gamify it, simulate it, and you will get a workplace that's remember, people like competition as well. So if you standardize certain things in a simulating way, then it's quite easy, especially if you have new product training or a process that needs to be done and everyone's on the same page. So this, for the research that we've done, is very, very focused on the new job entrant. But it can absolutely be taken over and generalized in different scopes because it's activity based and it's got an outcome and you can measure that. So innovation and that propensity to change are really the first steps to changing the way we create success in the workplace and especially in the supply chain environment. I mean, I was just listening to the previous presentation by Abe, and the one thing was, why supply chain? Well, it's solid. It's there will always be jobs in supply chain. Those are all the reasons. Great salaries, and that's the thing. This is where the academic institutions really and the professional bodies should really connect with these type of initiatives for that bigger picture. And the short and the sweet of simulators are this: yes, it is very expensive. It can be very expensive. It doesn't have to be. It depends on what technology you're using. Obviously, the more technology, the more expensive. Does the financial challenge outweigh the numerous tangible and intangible benefits? Definitely not. In the study, it's the only challenge is the financial challenge. I'm going to close off with that. So we have then enough time to do questions and answers. But there are many, many gaps to fill in the skills development scope. And nothing will change. Every year, I hear the same thing about skills development. And I'm so excited that people will buy into simulation in this world as well. Because if we don't change our approach to education and the way we upskill people, it will still remain the same forever. It is our responsibilities to take education to a next level. It is our responsibility to change the narrative and say, well, we can keep on saying, but we have the traditional way, and we keep on getting the traditional way of thinking from people and from graduates. That's fine. How do we change that narrative? And I firmly believe, and I passionately believe that simulators can do that. So thank you so much for listening to me this afternoon. I will definitely take some questions if you want.
Okay, so earlier on in the session, you were talking about different theories.
Yeah.
So the question is, where can one learn more about these theories?
Okay. All right. So I see that's from Gerald. The theories are very, very interesting, and it's from an author, two authors, Hoffman and Ward, and they wrote a book on accelerated learning, and they basically based the entire study, all those theories, as a foundation to accelerated learning. So I'm happy to share. I've got it in a PDF format as well. Interesting read. Happy to share it with Tonya, and she can post it somewhere, Tonya?
Yep, we can definitely do that.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Is this type of simulation available for call center training?
Yes, very much. And there are people already doing call center training. I still believe there could be more done in that field. But yes, it's the thing is that's the beauty of it. It can be generalized. So whether you are in a manufacturing environment, whether you are in a sales environment, a service orientated environment, it could be, I almost want to say, white labeled into, because it's about process and it's about activity. And it's about how do you actually simulate that activity in the real world. And again, it is how much do you want to do, and how far do you want to take it? Because there are an extremely amount of interesting things out there. Like I said, if you have the money, you can do a whole lot of things. Here's a question. What will be the difference between job simulation and internship? Is there correlation? So the simulation is based on the accelerated learning approach, where internship is a 12-month process where we take someone and we give him a desk and we give him a few things to experience while he is working. So the difference there is, how long does it take the intern to perform better? It takes a while for him to be exposed to different things. Where when we are looking at simulation, a simulator needs to be able to give exposure to someone much sooner before they hit that road. I'm going to give a silly example. Invoicing. If you how many times did you have to create invoices with certain scenarios to get and to solve certain problems? You probably had to work 24 months or 2 years in a department to have been exposed to many scenarios, where in the simulated environment, you could have done that as an accelerated process over 5 months, for instance. So internship is great. And that's why I'm saying, don't take away internships and learnerships and graduate programs. They are great, but simulation can amplify it. And it could give a person so much more and a better insight to the experience before they actually start with the real thing. It's like baking a cake. Imagine that first time. She's like just putting that cake in the oven. If it was a fake oven for pizza, it would be easier. What buy-in have you had from supply chain fraternity to date? Very difficult, especially on the public academic domain. From the private institutions, the private companies, very much a positive uptake. We've had a couple of groups that had success, but and we've said it. There was a session before, I think, with it was a panel discussion. The problem with academic, and again, I'm also a little bit of academic, but the problem with academic institutions is that they have to follow a certain route before they change anything in their curriculum. So that's very difficult. And for innovation to take place, you have to think fast and you have to act fast. And I think the uptake will be more from a private company base to say, you know what, we want to support this and we want to go to an academic institution and say, give us all your top students, your BCom supply chain honors. We want them to do this, and then we will take them into our workplace. I think that would be probably the easiest way to transition into this phase. A price. Well, it depends on what type of simulation you would be doing. I think I'll shoot off a bit if I give pricing away. But, was it Sarah? Sarah, you can contact me privately. Okay, and again, I would absolutely want to say, if it is virtual reality, the price can be extremely expensive. I mean, I'll just align it to, my son is a third-year student doing gamification. Everything's online. It's virtual reality, and it is over 100 bar a year. So this is, and it depends on what you want, what type of simulator did you want. There's a medical institution in South Africa who's got a medical simulation. They bought it for 17 million euros. So But for them, that's a value add because they are testing new equipment in theatre. The professors come into the simulator. It is so well set up that they do the training in there. So that's a different pricing. For us, we basically saying we still want to make it affordable, especially in South Africa, and we want to align it to the regulatory alignment of CETAs and compliance. And saying that, okay, well, let's take that as a base and just up it a little bit because I've said before, a simulator will not be successful if you don't have proper facilitation and coaching and mentoring. So real life one-on-one type of thing. So I would say probably 30% to 40% more than your normal qualification. Hopefully that gives an answer.
Just in terms of, so would the seaters pay, or would they only pay their set rates for the learnership and they're not prepared to entertain this type of thing?
No, we've had many discussions with them. They love the idea of the simulation, but they are very stuck on. It's still a contract, still a 12 months. So if we talk about learnerships, the 12-month contract with that learner, and you can do the 3 months in the beginning, but they still need to be paid by an organization to be hosted for 12 months, not 3 months. So
Crazy.
So they and in terms of their funding, their funding has been pretty much the same for the last couple of years. It hasn't increased. Even this year with COVID, they even halved some of it, 30% less than they usually would fund. So, compliance is another story. I always say that if you look at your business strategy and you look at your skills development strategy and you are strategizing that in improving your workplace, your compliance will fall in place automatically. Don't start with compliance and then do your business strategy, especially not in skills. Start with skills strategy. You'll find that you will have to do very little to fill the gaps on the compliance side. So the reason why we want to align it is because we're in South Africa. That's our landscape. So it makes more sense for people to spend that money, but we don't want them to look at just the funding. In any event, if you get funding, it's a bonus because then you're going to pay a lot less.
Yeah. No, I'm sold. I'm a big advocate for training and development. And as far as I'm concerned, there is not one organization that is exempt from developing their people, especially in the supply chain profession. This we don't have budget. We don't have budget. We don't have budget. We don't have budget until there's a massive, colossal incident, and then it's like, oh, but they weren't trained properly. So don't get me started on it because we'll be here for the rest of the afternoon. So I just want to see if there's just amen, sister.
Yeah, Tonya, it's that age-old saying of the CEO says, no, if we train them and we spend all this money, they're going to leave. And the other person says, yeah. And what if we we don't train them and they stay? Then we have a whole lot of liabilities on our books. So,
no, absolutely. Yeah. So I think if there are no more questions, the session is recorded, so we'll put it up on YouTube. Are you going to be around for a little while? Is it me hanging?
Hello? I'm here still.
I lost you for a minute.
Yeah.
Are you going to be around for the next 15 minutes, half an hour?
Sure.
Okay, so if you go to the lounge and pop yourself at a table, then anybody that's got any questions or would like to pursue further discussion can join you there. I think you all know that if you just hover over the table, you'll see who's sitting in the room.
Sure.
Thank you, Juliette. Thank you for that session. Very interesting. Very exciting breakthroughs in terms of education and development. And I certainly, without doubt, see a place for learning simulation. So good luck, good on you. And let's hope that we can broaden that circle of people that are taking it on.
100%. I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you. And before I say goodbye, please complete the polls before you all leave. And we will hopefully see you all at the ESCA Brain of the Nation session. Thank you very much for your time, Juliette.
No, all my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.